Sorry about that. I forgot to unmute the mic. Welcome, everybody. We haven't had a Sunday sermon show in a minute, but I wanted to make sure I squeeze this in before I get too busy with all the February stuff. The pre-recorded interviews start tomorrow, and I have one every day through till February 1st. It's unbelievable. The response this year has been overwhelming. I guess word is spreading. But I want to welcome you here. For those of you who are new, welcome to your first live stream with the Debsterism channel. We call these Sunday shows the Sunday sermon because they say, well, you kind of preaching here, and I wanted to address a few things that have come up. Now, I wanted to make slides, but I didn't really have time. A lot of this show is based on some responses that I noticed. I did put that survey up a couple of weeks ago, um, asking women to share the things that they maybe ignored in prior relationships, the things that they wish they had done differently as a woman, the mistakes that they recognize in hindsight that they made. The response is overwhelming. The survey's still open, so if you haven't responded yet and you want to share your ideas, go on the community page for the channel and you'll see the link there. But these responses, I took 20, I think 21 of them, and out that I wanted to, have slides to show you. But I'm just gonna kind of pick out a couple of them and let you know why I felt the show was so important even before February. So I asked a question, you as a woman at the age that you are now, the life experience that you have now, in retrospect, what were the mistakes that you made that you felt had the greatest impact on your life? That if you had done differently, had made a different choice, would have put you on a completely different trajectory for your life. And like I said, you guys came through some really deep insights and some stuff that was uh, like tear jerker kind of stuff. Um, Let me just start here. Number one, not living life to my full potential for fear of not being accepted. Society puts such strain on women, especially black women, to try to fit a mold or certain blueprint. It wasn't until I was 35 that I truly started to love myself and live my life according to what makes me happy. Not what some book or some person says, but what truly made me happy. You have to love yourself and want your happiness more than trying to please anyone else. Number two, putting everybody ahead of me and my feelings. This one thing has permeated probably every major mistake that I can think of. Number three, I wish I would have left my now ex husband sooner. I held on too long and ended up leaving him at a time when I didn't even have a job. He held me back in so many ways. He was always resentful that I graduated from college. I managed to do that while dealing with his unemployed butt and my nonverbal autistic son. I ended up leaving him and going from making $10 an hour to 20 in less than 5 years. But I feel like I would be further along if I had left him a few years before when I knew the relationship had died. Number four, and this one is a combination of like 20 or 30 responses in one: getting married, marrying my husband, getting legally married, getting married young. Okay, I just bunched them all together. Number five, putting off my education to continue a relationship with a man. I should have stayed in college and let him move on without me. He would have stayed and supported me if he was really the one. Number six, not trusting my gut. If it feels wrong, it probably is. My inner voice was screaming, don't do it on my wedding day. But I foolish me proceeded because I thought that was what I was supposed to do, and that was the best that I could get. 20 years later, I'm a struggling single mother of two, about to be divorced, and very late in the career ladder with a lot of debt. Sometimes I wonder what life would have been if I had listened to that little voice earlier, because it's the same one who screamed to give my soon to be ex husband the boot. Number seven, feeling like this relationship is my absolute last chance at love. Number nine, getting married strictly for religious reasons, believing that I had to be married or chosen by a man to be a worthwhile person. Continuing to choose relationships to validate my self worth. Number 10, putting everyone else before me. That came up over and over and over and over, like 50, 60 times. 12, giving up on my dreams for marriage. I was always miserable and unhappy and passed on opportunities that would have made my life better for their sake. Number 15, wish I had finished college and left men alone. Number 17, my biggest mistake was focusing so much and wasting my time chasing after men and potential relationships with them. I should have focused more on getting internships in university and preparing to enter the field. I think that young women and girls think that we, quote, have to date someone in our classes or work because that's our world. But the truth is that people come and go, and you won't be stuck in that environment forever. The world is a big place. You wind up getting a new job, moving to a new city. Either way, you don't have to choose a dude just because he seems within reach. Again, sacrificing my needs and being too nice. Um, Number 19, I depended on him for my happiness. Number 20, I didn't squirrel away enough money for myself. I was taught to throw my whole in with his, but that just left me financially vulnerable when he decided he didn't want to be married anymore. And the final one, 21, that I put on the list, it's not only 21 on the survey, it's hundreds. Being too nice and a doormat, wanting to please others and not putting myself first, being afraid of what other people think of me and not being seen as a B word, a C word, a harpy, an angry, bitter black woman, a man-hating feminist, a dumb girl, etc., for asserting my boundaries and wanting to put myself first instead of bowing to others' needs and wants. This one was hard because I saw men not giving a hoot about what they were doing and putting their needs first, but they were never called names, any of the multitude of slurs that women are shamed for being self-centered. They were encouraged to serve themselves, while women were encouraged to serve men. So I wanted to put all those on the slide for y'all, but there you go. Now, the reason why I felt when after I read all that painful stuff, y'all have been through it, okay? And still going through it. Some of you still going through it. I came across this article. I remember reading it back in, I didn't remember the year, it was 2012. And it took the internet by storm. It was written by this woman named Suzanne Venker. And the title of the article is The War on Men. And in it, she starts off by this. She says basically the basic premise of this article is that women are the reason that men are losing interest in marriage and in commitment and in settling down. She's putting all of that on us. Now, let me tell you what she says. She starts off this article by saying, according to the PEW Research Center, the share of women ages 18 to 34 that say they have a successful marriage is one of the most important things in their lives rose from 9% since 1997, from 28% to 37%. For men, the opposite occurred, dropping from 35% to 29%. She blames men's lack of interest in marriage on feminism and claims that women aren't women anymore. Now, how often have we heard this from the knucklehead crew all over YouTube, all over the internet, actually? That's one of their favorite things. Women aren't women anymore. Women don't know how to be wives anymore. This is where they get that nonsense from. She says that women need to determine if they want to be powerful in the world or if they want power in bed. I did not say this. Do not attribute this to me. These are quotes from her article, The War on Men, written in 2012. Okay? So I want everybody to understand that. Do not go around here saying Deb said. Deb did not say this. Deb is quoting. Okay? So let me read another quote. She says, quote, men have not changed much. They had no revolution that demanded it, but women have changed dramatically. She says women are angry and see men as the enemy and have pushed men off their pedestal and climbed to take what they believe was rightfully theirs. Thanks, Major. And now men have nowhere to go, she says. Okay, let's go back and look at this. Okay, she says men haven't changed much. Okay, in all the hundreds of years of human evolution, maybe you should have by now. By that means you're a dinosaur, sir. That means you're extinct, or about to be. Okay, everything in this world has changed. And you telling me that men as a whole have not? I know some have. Like the dude that married Zoe Saldana. He got, what was his name? Perigo or something. He took her last name. So now they're both the Saldanas, which is a much more interesting name than his. What's his name? Marco? Something like that. I mean, I was very impressed with him. Okay. But most of the men were like upset that he didn't make her, end quote, take his name. It's like, why should she? So he saw Donna is a badass name. I would want that name too. And so he decided, that sounds better than this mess I got. And so he took her name. And so there you go. So she says that, since men have not changed, women have changed dramatically. That shows that women are much more with it and more, more what's the word I want to say? Not flexible, adaptable than men are. Okay. She says that women are angry and see men as the enemy. Of course, you would see someone at the enemy who's as the enemy who's trying everything in their power to keep you down, to keep you, to take your rights away, to hurt you, to maim you, abuse you, and everything else that men do to women on a large scale. Of course, they're the enemy. Are you crazy, lady? Where do you see where men as a whole are going out of their way to do stuff pleasant and wonderful and supportive of women? Yeah, there's pockets of men. There's certain relationships where they do. I'm talking about the vast number of millions in this planet. They're not doing nothing but trying to subjugate and control women. And when women fight back, they want to throw acid on them and beat them and disappear them and all kind of stuff to them because even though walking down the street, you don't give them your phone number. They want to call you names and throw stuff at you, hit you, all kind of stuff because they want control and power over women. And if women say no, then men get mad. And you talking about women are angry about that? Hell yeah, they're angry. Who wants to be treated like that? Like a fucking stray dog. Lady, this lady is out of her mind. Okay, but we got to give her some because this was written in 2012. But I was reading some of her more recent articles, which I will be going over in a minute, well, in a little bit, and she hasn't changed her stance. Okay, so could go over to some more. So she says women have pushed men off their pedestal. You know the pedestal that they put themselves on without being deserving of it. They wanted it, and so they took it by beating on women and controlling women and doing the horrible things to them. Yeah, well, then they climbed up on this pedestal and said, "I'm the king." And then we looking at them now like, "No, you ain't. You ain't done nothing to get up there, and you ain't done nothing to stay up there. So get down. Get down. You don't deserve it." And so, but to her, see, that's a threat. They didn't jump off. Well, some of them did jump off because I'll go over that in a minute. Some of them just like, did a nose, what they call it, a swan dive off. They weren't trying to be on it because it's a lot of work to stay on a pedestal. It's a lot of work. You have so many standards that you have to meet, so many, so many things you have to do at top notch performance levels. These lazy ass bums ain't trying to do all that. So yeah, they was happy to get pushed off the pedestal. That's the part she doesn't understand. And I want you guys to understand too what I have to consider here is this is a white woman and she's an older white lady. Okay. So and she comes from a family of money and means and stuff. She writes for Fox News and stuff like that. Okay, let me write for Fox News for a minute and see how many heads I'll explode over there. So there's certain ways, a certain position in her life that she's not going to see the real deal stuff that we see. She's at a different level in a different social circle than we are. So we're comparing ourselves and our real lives as normal working class people, and especially as black women and brown women, to somebody who's in upper middle class white woman. Okay, her reality is not ours. So what she talking about only applies to a certain segment of the population. And she's trying to say that this is everybody. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go through this, because I have some statistics that are going to show you and prove to you that she's off in left field. Well, she needs to just title her stuff for white women only. That's what she needs to do, because then it would make sense and it would be logical and it would be accurate. But when you start talking about the melting pot that is the United States of America, where white people are, like at this point, like if you put all the minorities together, white folks in the minority. So what really applies here? What she's talking about only applies to a small segment of the population, white women and men in a certain age group. Okay? So keep that in mind as well as we go through this. Okay, so then she says, now men have nowhere to go. Well, if you put yourself someplace where you don't need to be, and then people tell you to get out, and you don't know what to do with yourself, well, whose fault is that? That's your fault. You ought to do something about yourself. That's not women's job to make a place for you. That's your place to get up to meet the standards that women set and that society sets in 2021, and meet them if you want to stay on a damn pedestal. Okay, so then basically what she's saying is, by all of her thing about women, are angry and all this stuff. Basically what she's saying is that women's request, women's fight, women's demands, that we be treated as people who are respected and who are heard and who are seen and who are viewed as someone important enough to listen to and to, to consider our thoughts and feelings and our emotions. For us to say that is, want those same opportunities as men, that she's saying basically that it's a threat to men. That they're wandering around in circles like drooling and babbling now because they don't know what to do because women are making these demands on them and they don't want to meet them. So so if you got a woman who wants her husband to share in household responsibilities, to share an equal part of raising the children that he went 50% in on, to help with the housework that he lives in as the other 50% of the adults in that household. Why do you think that she's supposed to work a full-time job and take care of the kids and take care of the house and take care of this man and try to find a few minutes to take care of herself and cook and clean and do homework runs and laundry and PTA meetings and all the other stuff that moms do in marriages? Why do you think that a woman in 2021 is going to want to do that all by herself for the rest of her life while you sit on the couch with the remote or the video game controller in your hand and then say, well, she won't do it. That's why I don't want to get married. Ain't nobody trying to marry you under them circumstances, clown. That's the part they don't get. Women would get married when they had, like that, when they were like considered property and traded by their fathers and stuff and didn't really have too many other options. Well, now them days is over. Get with the program. Women today get married because they want to. And if they don't want to, if you're not good enough, you're not offering her nothing that's going to benefit her in any way, shape, or form, she has no reason to marry you. So the fact that you don't want to marry her is like moot point. It's like, well, I'm not going to marry you. Nobody asked you, clown. Nobody want to marry you anyway. So you sitting over there talking about, well, I'm not going to marry you. It's like, what you saying that for? Nobody cares. It's like saying, well, I like strawberry ice cream. And everybody's looking at you like, and? We gonna buy chocolate and we gonna eat our chocolate ice cream. We don't care what you like. That's essentially the same thing that's going on right now. So she's feeling like, because of these statistics that she read and she quotes from whenever she got them from 1997, that in women's interest in marriage went up. Okay, well, let's talk about what's happening now from the last census, which was in 2010, and statistics came out of 2013. I'll be going over those in a little bit. So then, she goes on and she promotes all these stereotypes, like that men are the breadwinners and women should be the homemakers. Whose household can do that in this economy? You know who? Middle class, upper middle class white people. Everybody else working two jobs. Sometimes, the husband working, the wife, or sometimes somebody got two jobs. Or the older teenagers are kicking in too. Or they have some older, like an uncle or somebody living in the house and everybody working and contributing to the house because it's expensive as hell to live in this economy. But if you're gonna $1 million white people, your salary's $2 million and all this kind of stuff. You live in a $3 million home and you vacation in Martha's Vineyard and all these kind of stuff, Nantucket or whatever. Then that's not your reality. So you don't see where that's a necessity. You don't see people juggling daycare pickups and trying to make it from the overtime that they have to work across town to get their kids before 6 o'clock. You don't see how they're trying to figure out how to work, get their job with a kid that has chronic illnesses. You don't see any of that. You don't see couples that really have good enough income, just one of them, to sustain a household and a family in this economy. And these days, a lot of people, ain't nobody in the whole house working because of COVID. This is kind of a reality check. I don't know who follows her and who listens to her and why so many men believe this trash that she talks, but I'm trying to give y'all a reality check and understand there's a great difference between a black woman in America and a white woman in America, a Latina woman in America and a white woman in America. It's a big difference. Okay? Big difference. Not only are our men different, our households are different, our kids are different, our opportunities are different, our bank accounts are different, and everything about our lives is different than what she's talking about. Okay, so she says that basically, if a woman wants to be her own person with her own goals and her dreams, that they should, she should give all that up because she should be focusing on being a wife and a mother. That's what she says. And Women, all in her articles, I was going over some of them in a little bit. She says that women, basically, she wants women to be put back into a box of the 1800s where women were basically just had one role to breed and to be married. That was it. Maybe throw parties or something. That was it. That was your job as a woman. That's all you got to do. That was emphasized. I don't know if you guys have watched that new series on Shonda Rhimes has on Netflix called Bridgerton. Watch some of the stuff that Phoebe says while she's going through the angst of trying to find a quote suitable husband. Listen to some of her dialogue where she admits that that's all she's there for, and how sad it is, but she has to make the best choice in a husband because that's her only opportunity to be able to have a life that where she has at least some freedom and some opportunities to do something for herself. Be sure to watch that, and it's so sad when she says it. But that's the reality that women lived in, even up until my mother's time, because they had, so many women were on antidepressants because of the roles that they were forced into. They didn't have a choice. And this lady wants us to go back to that willingly so that men will want to marry us. That's what I say to that. And then you think about it too, right? Okay. Like you guys said, the men jumped off the pedestal because these days they don't even want to pay for a date. They don't want to do nothing that you would consider manly. Okay, to show that they are like, they're going to take this man role that she's trying to say that they all want. They don't want that anymore. They just want to be little bees. And so when you have a situation, okay, they abdicate their responsibility willingly because they want women to work. They don't want to have all the responsibility paying all the bills themselves. They don't want to do anything all by themselves. It's too much work. Why do I have to do it? They all have this kind of attitude, right? So the woman steps up, she does the thing. Okay, but then the guy, seeing that she's handling it, he sits down, he does less and less until she starts doing more and more. At the end of all of that, she's exhausted and resentful, and she doesn't want the marriage anymore. Okay, so then she's like, well, you women your demands are too high, and that's why you're getting a divorce and marriages don't work. Marriages don't work because men aren't working in the marriage. See, look at our society. Society is training women. I mean, right? The socialization. You're nothing unless you have a man. You need to be married. You have to be acknowledged as somebody's wife in order for you to feel valued. The men even reiterate that and reinforce that all online. They tease you and taunt you and berate you and shame you, talking about, well, that's why you single. And you're just going to be single with a bunch of cats and this and that. The focus continues to be on women pairing up and finding a man in order to be validated, to be seen as whole and worthy and valuable as people. If you eschew that and you don't want no parts of that, you want to be viewed as valuable and whole on your own. And then you get with the man who presents himself as going to be somebody that augments that. And then all of a sudden he sits down on a job. Why should you stay married to him? Well, how is he benefiting you? What good is it to you to have him around? It's like another kid. You already got two kids, and now you got a 6 foot tall, 200-pound one too. And so you take it, the woman has the burden of 3 children, one of which is supposed to be her husband, supposed to be her partner, and she got to take care. And then these dudes wonder why nobody want to stay married to him. Oh, she left me. She took my kid. You think you didn't do nothing to keep her there? Women today are not trying to do all of that. They're not trying to do all of that. If they're going to be performing like a single parent, they may as well be one because they don't have to be bothered with you. And that's the way they look at it, and that's why the divorce rates are so high. Yeah, it's very exhausting. Just talking about it. I had to go lay down when I was reading her articles because I had to go lay down after because it was like this lady is off in left field somewhere. Her view of the world is so unrealistic, it's just not even funny. And that's how you know she's living in a rich white girl bubble. And so she's just totally out of touch with what's really going on in American society with the masses of people here, especially with the minorities, especially with black women, because our stuff is just so messed up dealing with brothers. It's just not even funny. Let me move on to my next page. Yeah, these dudes, they don't want to do nothing. They can't fix nothing in the house, right? You got to call somebody. So, okay, then you got this man sitting there and you got to call somebody to fix everything. He's crying like a baby about his wiener. And he was, why you never paying no attention to me? And this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then even some of them, I did a video on it too. They was all online ranting and raving about they want a safe place to cry. Okay, when you put all that together, please explain to me why anybody want to be married to that. I still look at some of you women. It's like, I mean, unless you got a super duper good one, you just get married. Just say you married. You better slap yourself and snap out of it. If he's not bringing no benefit to your life, you don't get married to him. You out your mind. You crazy. Something's wrong with you. Okay, so but see, so all this stuff, right? They want somebody to help them pay the bills, and they want a safe place to cry, and all this old stuff here. But Venker says that men want to love women, not compete with them. Oh, please explain the trans movement to me then, which is like 90% males trying to be women. Please explain to me how you came to that conclusion. Okay, then we move on. She claims men want to provide for and protect their families. It's in their DNA, but that modern women won't let them. Who is stopping them from doing that? She says that because women are educated and make more money than men do, that's the cause of these marriages breaking down. Although she turns around later and says men aren't intimidated by women that make more money. Which one is it? Pick one. You can't be going back and forth. See, I'm not stupid. And I read it. I read what she said, and then I read what she said that they're not intimidated. Yes, they are. Because if you weren't intimidated, if you didn't feel like something was wrong with you because you didn't measure up and your wife is a better provider than you are, then that means intimidation because you feel like you're less. Now, some men have a different attitude. They say, well, it's money coming into the household. It ain't the matter who makes it and this and that. Because, he might get a raise and she get a raise. He get a side job and make $25,000 or something on his business. And then so they don't count it like that. But that's some couples. But we're talking about the overwhelming majority. And the men do get in their feelings when their wife is pulling down more money than them, especially if it's a lot of more money. Unless he's a player type and he don't care because it's more money for him to spend because he ain't trying to work no way. So then she says that according to the National Bureau of Economic Research, if a wife earns more than her husband, quote, the couple are 15% less likely to have a, quote, very happy marriage and 32% more likely to report marital troubles and 46% more likely to report separating. 46%, that's almost half. In a marriage where the wife earns more than the husband. Now, look at the state of black marriages. What is our divorce rate? Some say as high as 70%. And what happens here? The black women are more educated than black men, get way, way more college degrees. And in some instances, make these phones. I shouldn't have brought all these phones in here. Make more money. They're the ones who are the breadwinners of the family. And they do everything they can to try to not make the man feel intimidated about it. To make his little ego feel better. Yeah, she put the blame on women. But see, the purpose of this show is to throw the bullshit flag. Because you know what? You don't get to do that, not on my watch. You want to say the men want to be all these leaders and all this old stuff here. Well, then why aren't they doing that? If you really was on a pedestal because you deserve to be there, nobody could throw you off because they would be worshiping at the pedestal that you are on instead of tossing you off because you ain't shit. That's how come you got tossed off because you didn't do anything to get up there in the first place. So you ain't doing nothing to stay up there, and so you get the boot. That's what that's all about. There's not a woman in this world who can't respect a man who's going about his hustle and got his shit together. Man or woman, we respect you. But you want to be respected just because you have a ding-a-ling and you ain't doing nothing with yourself. No, you get down. Okay, that don't qualify you as nothing except a male walking around here with your chest stuck out, thinking that you somebody. Okay, she also says that these relationship struggles, she attributes them to the wife, right? Because she says that the wife is earning more and the man loses his sense of purpose, his ability to provide and protect. She claims that if the woman has the babies, raises the babies, and provides for the babies, what is left for him to do? Okay, what is there left for you to do? Roll up your sleeve and jump in there, Holmes. If she's overburdened with all this responsibility and you just standing by mad with your lips stuck out, what does that mean? That means you're not helping. That means that you're useless. That means get out. So if she's doing it, you're going to sit there and let her do it all by herself and you're not going to jump in and help out, then you don't need to be there. You don't need to be nobody's husband. You don't qualify. You don't even have any idea what it means to be a husband and a father because you're not doing your fair share. You want her to do it. Fuck out of here. Then she says, in I'm like, okay, she says all of that. Thanks, Jay. In reality, it's because the husband is resentful, right? He's resentful because his fantasy of him being head of the household and doing all the stuff because he makes all the money is went up in smoke. Because you got to be paid the cost to be the boss. If you got a woman who's making equal or more money than you, she wants you to share power. She's not you. You don't get to dictate, and men resent that power being taken away from them. Okay, and it's based on controlling the woman with money. They get jealous because she's more educated, she's making more money, she might have I don't know, she might be like well known in the city, she has some kind of like position where she's out in front like on TV, on radio, she's just a well-known person in politics or something like that. They get passive aggressive towards her, they do the little digs and underhanded stuff, right? Or they get angry because he feels like when he looks at her that he's less. He feels that in his own eyes. Nobody told him that. He feels it in his own head because he has this fantasy that because, he's the husband that he's supposed to be running things. And then he gets upset when she says, "No, you not." Mm-mm. He knows he's lagging, but you know what smart men do? They look at their wives and say, "Dang, she got a degree. Maybe I need to go back to school. I wasn't real interested when I was younger, but I'm older now, more mature. I think I can focus a little better. So let me do this." And he signs when he goes to night school and gets his degree. He gets his degree online. He does something instead of sit there and complain. He does something to elevate himself instead of try to put her down. And that's the difference between most of the men, they want the woman to like lower herself, so he still doesn't have to do anything, and he still doesn't have to try or anything to get back on the pedestal. He just wants her to get down and be on the level with him instead of climbing up there where she is. Get your game tight, dude, and then you won't have this problem. But you're gonna sit there and think a woman's gonna step down and to match you at where you at the bottom rung of the ladder. No, she already at the top. You better climb. Okay, so basically, I think this chick is off in left field. So anyway, when a woman stands up for herself and demands that she be treated properly, demand that she have the same rights and opportunities that men just take for granted for themselves, we have to fight for it and get laws for it. Not only as women, but as African Americans. What do you think the 1960 Civil Rights War was about? The civil rights battles, all of those things, just to get us, just to be having, get to sit in a restaurant, sit on a bus, and just do stuff just like regular people. I mean, even the most dregs of society, trailer park trash type of white person got. You could be a black person with all kind of advanced education, and you still didn't get the treatment that some hillbilly ass white person got because you were black. We had to fight for that. Okay, now think about all of that, and you think about a black woman. What do we have to do? We have to fight every fucking day for everything that we get. We not only got to fight white folks, we got to fight the black men too. It's exhausting. And they say that's why, they say, well, black women are the least married women. Why do you think what you talking about and what you doing is something that a black woman would want to be married to? You ain't doing shit. All you do is talk negative about black women. You want to hurt them. You want to game on them and use them and pimp them and hurt their kids and do all kind of vile, vicious stuff. Sit down on your butt and make her make all the money. You don't want to even cook. You will demand your plate first. All kind of trifling stuff that brothers be doing. It's fucking exhausting being in relationships with you. That's why black women would rather be single. And you come along trying to taunt and tease and shame them into being with you. Yeah, I hope Trump does away with Section 8 and stuff so you don't have to be in a relationship. You don't have nothing to offer. You have to figure out some kind of way to make a woman suffer in order to want to be with you so you be an option better than starvation. You ain't shit. I told a bunch of them that when Trump took office 4 years ago and they was crowing about Section 8 and welfare and stuff and hoping that he did away with it all to make black women and children suffer. What kind of man does that? Who really cares about women and children, who says, does what she said, wants to provide for and protect his family. Yet you sit up here wishing all the stuff, negative stuff happens to innocent children. You ain't shit, I repeat. So when you have people like that and you see that, you know that they're no one you want to be in a relationship. You don't want to talk to them. Okay, so you magnify that for the hundreds of thousands of black men running around doing that same type of thing. Why would anybody see them as a viable mate choice? Some of you, unfortunately, made that choice, as was evident in the in the survey that we did. But admittedly, we're young and you didn't know yet. You didn't know. Nobody told you what to look for, how to choose a husband. So you didn't know. Somebody asked you to marry me, you did it. Okay, but why do we have this channel here to teach you these things and talking about this kind of stuff very openly? The political climate and the social climate in the United States, the racism, the sexism, all of the stuff that goes on here that impacts women, especially women of color, must be discussed. It must be discussed openly, and it must be discussed in a way that leaves no stone unturned. I'm not holding back no punches. Everybody who should get punched in the face is going to. They're going to be. Okay. So this chick here, so she basically says that women, by demanding these rights and not wanting to hear men's stuff and not dealing with their crap, this is a war on men. It's not a war on men at all. It's nothing that we're doing is hurting men. What men have been doing is hurting us and getting away with it. Now that we're not allowing it anymore, we're telling them to stop and we're telling them we're not going to take that shit anymore. Well, they all in their feelings about it. So she want to say, well, it's a war on them. No, it's not. It's a demand that you stop acting stupid and that you treat women with the respect that they deserve. Okay, but she sees that as a threat to men and to marriage. Well, you know what? If that's a threat to marriage, then maybe marriage should be done away with. You need to come up with something else then. Okay, because the marriage in the way that she frames it is detrimental to women. It's detrimental to women's dreams. It's detrimental to women's health. It's detrimental to women's self-esteem, not to mention their bodies, not to mention their financial state. Very little of it is beneficial unless she practices hypergamy and demands that she marries is going to be kicking down millions. Okay, then it might be worth it. Because at least when she leaves with something. He acts a fool, she gets to leave with something. But your average Joe, it's not worth it to marry him. Unless he's going to be, he's going to be on point. So I think, so she says, that's right. I was making my little conversation. See, sometimes when I'm making what's supposed to be an outline, I start talking to myself and then I start typing it. But I wrote this, this is not threatening. It's not threatening to men. It just pisses them off that they're losing their hold on the castle that they never should have been in the first place. I mean, when you start from their first stepping foot on the United States of America, they stole the land. They built everything, all their wealth and stuff on the back of people of color. The Asians that they have paid on the railroads and black folks that they didn't pay at all that they stole and put into slavery. Okay, that's all this wealth and stuff that they have now, it was built on that. They couldn't even ship the shit. They had to have railroads, and you got the Chinese over here and use slaves to do that. So so now they're able to ship their stuff all across the country and make more money, more money, more money, more money. So nothing that they really have is theirs. They didn't really earn it all by themselves. They earned it on the backs of people of color against their will and doing some hook and crook shit. Okay, so you need to step down. You don't need to be trying to run nothing, tell nobody nothing. That's where I am with it. It's a bunch of bullshit. Nothing that these white males have done in this country, they did on their own power. They did it on the backs of people of color and then on the backs of women. So, you talk about you want to respect and be on a pedestal and stuff. Get your funky ass down. You don't deserve shit. You done stole and robbed and beat and murdered people into it, and to get to steal their shit and steal their lives, their bodies, their children, everything else. And now you want to sit up there and crow about you at the top. You ain't shit. None of them. Yeah. It's just some foul shit. I mean, the more you study history, and then people don't like to talk about this kind of stuff because they want to be all politically correct. I don't give a fuck about none of that. I'm gonna call it like I see it. A bunch of slave masters and crooks. After all, that's what Europe sent over here. They was all thieves and murderers and shit. They got rid of them over there and sent them over here. That's who established the United States of America. A bunch of criminals. And it ain't stopped yet. They still in government. I'm telling you. So basically, this woman's theory, since I went off on a slight tangent, let me come back. Because these are the partners to them people. These are the women supporting those people. She says that if a woman surrenders and drowns herself in femininity, that marriage-minded being will practically rain down from the sky, and that will make women happy because they'll be married. But statistics say otherwise for black women. Okay, so let me go over here to my statistics. This is based on marriage and divorce patterns by gender, race, and educational attainment, published by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's very long. I, printed out the document, and then I put tabs where I wanted to talk about it because it was just too much. They just went on and on and on and on. Okay, so let me talk about the divorce rates. The divorce rate for first marriages is nearly 20% points lower for those who have completed their bachelor's degree compared with those who have completed just high school, whether they have some college or not. Okay, so 20% lower if you have an education, college education. Just as with first marriages, college graduates were more likely to stay in a second marriage when compared with groups that have less education. So, all in all, let me just sum us up. What they're basically saying is the more education that you have, the more likely your marriage is to last. The less educated you are, the people who don't even have a high school diploma are not only less likely to stay married if they get married, they're less likely to be married anyway because they're not really seen as a good choice. Hey, hey, Michelle. And so there's my girl Sunday. It's kind of interesting. So by taking that analysis, it would be a good thing that black women are educated, right? But if black men who are supposed to be their partners, their providers and protectors, are not on that same page, then what does that mean? That means they're going to be in relationship with men who earn less than them and who are resentful of their educational attainment. That's what that means. You guys need to think about this. So, people go on this thing about, well, date out, date out, date out. I'm not saying date now to do the men are any better. I'm saying, find someone who's on your same socioeconomic level. Okay, I don't care if he's green with pink stripes on him. I'm not tripping on the color of the person. Find somebody that's a good match for you. Okay, and think about where you are economically and where you are educationally, where you are professionally, and where you are, in your emotional development, and find a man that's a good match for you. Don't just settle for somebody because he come along and you like him and he's sexy or whatever. So, I mean, that's good. Have a good time, and then you send him on his way. And don't get pregnant. Okay, that keeps you guys tied, a bunch of knuckleheads. So let me go on in this. So then it says down there, it says, at all lower levels of education, women are more likely to marry compared to men. For men, the probability of marriage increases with education because they are more seen as a better mate. They make more money. They're a better candidate in the job market because they have a higher education. There are all kind of different doors open up to them. This doesn't even mean that you have to have a college degree, but at least have a trade school certificate, some kind of certification in tech or something like that. I mean, that also will put you at a higher earning, make a higher earning capacity. Among women, those who did not complete high school are less likely to marry compared with women of all higher educational levels. So if you did not complete high school, you don't even have a GED, you are like unmarriageable. That's basically what it is. You have the lowest chances of having a husband if that's what you want to do. So, a lot of times you see these dudes, right? And they be online talking about, well, women this and black women that, and this and that. They're talking about these women. They're not talking about the ones in college getting a PhD and MA, MBA and MA and all that kind of stuff. They're not talking about them. They look at the women who are at the bottom of society and use that as a standard upon which to make all their judgments about African American women. I always call them out on it. But it's like, you say you want a good woman, you college educated and all this stuff. Why are you looking over there at La Shanisha with her two or three babies and baby daddies and all that? Why are you looking at women who are at the bottom and mad because they don't want to date you, which you really shouldn't be trying to date them anyway? And then, well, they only want thugs and they this and they that, this, that. You're looking at the young ladies who are at the bottom of the pecking order and you're complaining about black women based on them. You're an idiot. Okay? Let me just put it out there. You stupid. And I know there's a chart here and it shows that people who The more education you have, the older you tend to be when you get married, which could be another reason why the marriages last, because people are more mature. They have a career, they have some money, they know all the stuff that they needed to do, all the struggles they had to go through to get to where they needed to be, establish themselves, have already been done. So they don't have to do that once they're married. That alleviates a lot of pressure. They can focus on each other and building together their household, buying a house, and babies and all this whole stuff. They can hit the ground running, so to speak. But you still in the struggle mode trying to get there. That's going to put extra pressure on a marriage, and the first new marriages are kind of tough anyway. Okay, so then I'm going to flip pages. Historically, college educated women have been less likely to marry compared with less educated women. Okay. Why do you think that is? Why is it that educated women are less likely to marry compared to less educated women? Because they don't need the money. They can be pickier about who they choose. They're choosing a husband. They not just getting married just to have two incomes or a place to stay or somebody to help them with their kids and all this kind of stuff. She's doing all that on her own because she making that kind of bank. You know, you make a lot more money generally when you have, like I said, some kind of certification or a degree than people who don't. There are exceptions, like you could get some kind of, I don't know, some kind of management job or somewhere. Like I knew a guy who started working for Comcast. He had mentors though. He graduated from high school. That was it. And he ended, making 90 something grand at Comcast. But, the white guys there really liked him. He's black. They really liked him. He taught them how to play golf and everything. And so he, was in there. They put him into their social circle. They really liked this young cat. So he was making all kinds of money, and they treated him just like they would treat one of their white sons with the nepotism. They made ways for him, and so without really having, the education or whatever, they gave him those opportunities. That does happen. Does that happen to most people? No. It happened to him though. This is somebody I know personally. And it says, at every age, women have experienced more marital changes than men. On average, women married earlier than men did. In addition, women have more marriages that ended. So they marry earlier, but they have more marriages that end. Now we come to the good part where it talks about African American black folks. Blacks were less likely to marry than their white and Hispanic counterparts. At age 25, about 45% of whites and Hispanics have never married. The proportion of blacks who had never married at age 25, 65%, is more than 20 percentage points higher. Wow. About 30%, 33% of blacks have never married, compared with 10% and 16% of whites and Hispanics, respectively. 33%, and they're talking about men and women, blacks have never married, compared with 10% of whites and 16% of Hispanics. Blacks are also less likely to have remarried than whites and Hispanics after their first marriages ended. Now, why do you think that is? Why do black folks not get remarried? Because they wake up and smell the doo-doo. That's why. It's like, this was some bullshit. I didn't need to do this. This was a joke. Why did I do this? Well, this is about COVID, so let's not go there quite yet. Let's talk about some of the titles of her articles here. Oh, I don't even know which one I should start on. Let's go do this one. It's called American Women Need to Shift Their Priorities If They Want to Be Happy. This is from her blog, I think. I don't know, it doesn't have a footer on it. And it says a similar version of this article is published in the Washington Examiner. Okay? She says, we've created a culture based on lies. Here are some of them. Career success is fulfilling. I can make my life happy. Life is an individual journey. You have to find your own truth. And rich and successful people are worth more than poorer and less successful people. Well, that's definitely a lie. And he says, by conceiving of ourselves mostly as autonomous selves, we've torn our society to shreds. That may be, but who started that trend? See, a woman can't get married unless a man wants to marry her, lady. If you have women being raised to expect to have a husband and have, for children and a family, and men aren't being given those same messages, don't you think that might cause a divide between the genders? And you figure you want to put all of that on me, on women? Men aren't being raised to be husbands and fathers. They're being told to get as much as possible, dip and dab, don't get stuck, don't fall in love, don't be a simp, all this kind of stuff. Those are the messages, at least going out to black men. So you have black women being raised in church and all this stuff and being told to save themselves and to just get married and to live a proper life and have a raise their family with a husband. And then you have men who are being told the complete opposite. How does that work? Of course, had she talked to somebody black, she would know this. But again, like I said, she in the rich white girl bubble, and so she's not getting this kind of information. It's like a foreign concept to her. So she's writing these trash ass articles, and not considering the fact that everybody ain't you, chick. Everybody's not you. Most people aren't you. Only you are you. Okay, everybody else is dealing with some other kinds of struggles, especially people in this country who are people of color, women of color. We don't have this kind of this situation that you're talking about, these options and opportunities that you're talking about, because our men aren't like yours. They're not raised that way, especially black men. All they want to do is fuck around. That's what, you see them as old and in them nursing homes and stuff, still trying to be a player. 50 something years old, trying to dress like in hip hops and stuff and chase young girls. It's ridiculous. Okay, the black culture is just ridiculous and just trash. So you ladies, I'm just saying, these women run around talking about, well, they don't want nothing but a black man. That's fine. That's fine. But I'm gonna tell you, you better stop that, and you better stop looking at the man at this. This doesn't matter. What goes on is what matters is what's in his heart, how he treats you, what his goals in life are. Are you guys on the same page as far as what you want morally, and your family values and your dreams and goals and ambitions? Does he support you? Is he encouraging? Is he a truthful, honest person? Is he there for you when you need him? Those are the kind of things that you should be looking at, and the color of his skin is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. If y'all get along, like I said, I don't care. He could be green with pink polka dots. I don't care. Just irrelevant. How does that man treat you? How does that man love you? That's what you look at. And you leave that door open for everybody who tries to talk to you. Okay? Everyone that you're interested in. If he says, he's talking to you and he seems like a cool dude, just talk to him. A lot of dudes of other races are afraid to talk to black women because of the stereotypes that black men have permeated through the internet. Oh, they mean, they this, they that. No, we're not. We just want to be loved just like everybody else. But one thing we not going to do is take a bunch of bullshit for it. Now, there are women who do, they until they wake up. But in general, we're done with that part of life. Okay, we done put that down. Put that book back. We turn that book to the library. Somebody else can check it out. We're done with that. So you gonna come correct, or you're not gonna come at all. And so when you dealing with stuff with knuckleheads, every time you walk up and down the street, you smile. Well, it ain't that serious, and telling you all the stuff and trying to play games with you all the time. You do develop a protective shield. But you know what? If you're a sincere dude, you will easily crack that. Easily. You just have to be determined to let her know the real you and that you ain't them clowns. And then she'll trust you, and then it'll be on like Donkey Kong, because nobody can love you better than a black woman, love you harder and with more devotion and loyalty. But is going to have to put in some work, because you have to counter all the idiots that have come before you that fucked over her. Okay, and if that ain't your strength, you don't have the strength to do that, then just leave her alone. Yeah, it's just terrible. It's just unbelievable. Lady Boss, I see she over there working hard on this Sunday. It's really sad for her to try to say that, this is the fault of feminism. Feminism, and black women who say, well, I'm not a feminism, I'm not a feminist, you're stupid. I'm going to just tell you right now to your face. You're a dummy, because you up here catering to black men. What are they doing for you? You better wake the fuck up. If you're not advocating for yourself, that means you're a fool. And that's all that feminism is about. It is demanding that you have opportunities and nothing be denied you just because you're a woman. If you want to work as an airplane mechanic and make that 100 and whatever $1,000, you should be offered that opportunity if you have the skills, and should not be denied that opportunity just because you're a woman. If you want to be a police officer, if you want to be a Mountie in the Canadian Mountie Force or whatever you have the skills and the aptitude for, you want to be a contractor, you want to be a plumber, whatever it is that you think that you can do, and you have the skills for it, set for it, and the aptitude for it, then you should be able to do it. And it doesn't matter that you're a woman. Stockbrokers, all of that. Judges, lawyers, doctors, politicians, presidents of the nation, of any country on this planet. You should, prime minister, all this kind of stuff. Women are doing all of those things, and they're doing them well. The chick that's running New Zealand is just, she had the COVID shit under control when Trump was still trying to figure out what to do. Her shit was tight. Her people were protected. She was like the mother hen of her whole country and got shit tight that protected her people. And see nothing like that over there. Over here, I mean. So, women, that's what I'm saying. Women, you cannot keep a woman down when she's good at something. She should be given the opportunity to do it. That's what feminism is about. Opening those doors, kicking those doors down that men tried to keep closed so women didn't have those opportunities. And men talking about, well, women didn't invent anything. Do you know that women, they had inventions that women made? They couldn't register patent, and they had to register in their husband or father's or brother's name. That's why everything looks like it was invented by men, you idiots. Don't you study history? It's just stupid. These dudes, they don't read. They don't read. And so they don't know anything. And they learn everything that they do off of the internet. It's just so stupid. So what does this one say? What is she saying? She says women should marry earlier rather than later. She says she's not saying it, but she thinks you should think about it. Earlier, from a statistical standpoint, marriage before the age of 25 is risky. 60% of couples married between the age of 20 and 25 end in divorce. We are in agreement there. I mean, I've said that to you guys before. I think nobody should get married until they're like 28, 29. Women, and then the guy should be in his early 30s. She says those who wait until they're at least 25 are significantly less likely to suffer this fate. Well, I even add a few more years to that. I keep hearing the same from women. They wasted their 20s in bars, in bedrooms, and boardrooms until they realized they could no longer afford to do so. Please explain to me how being in a bar is the same as being in a boardroom. Did you guys hear that? She slid that in there. So she's making it sound like getting drunk in a bar or bed hopping is the same level of BS in a woman's life as her being in a boardroom. That's in this article. You can find it on her website. It's called Why Women Should Marry Earlier Than Later. That's the title. I'm not lying. It's right here, black and white. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Their clocks ticking, they found themselves in the unenviable position of having to, quote, hurry up and find a man to marry. So they ended up marrying the decent enough guy they happened to be dating or living with at the time. 10 years and a baby or two later, assuming their bodies could deliver a second child, they're unhappy in their marriage. Why? Because the entire marital decision-making process was undermined as a result of a ticking clock. You're just far less likely to choose well when you're under the gun. Okay, so she makes it sound like while this woman is in her 20s and she's going in bars and she's going to bedrooms and she's in bed, that she's not looking at the men that's in front of her. Don't you think, dumb lady, that if she found somebody who was worth marrying, that she would marry him? You forget that men are stupid in their 20s and most of them still into their 30s. They ain't trying to get married. So who is she supposed to be marrying exactly? That's just, men don't just materialize into her life? See, again, she's putting all the onus for a marriage happening and being successful on the women. These kind of articles need to be directed to men. Men are the one who propose. She also promotes, that we maintain these social traditions, right? That women shouldn't be feminists and propose and stuff like that. I agree with her on that one. But it's like, in general, then if you propose that, then you should be directing these articles to men. Okay, these need to be the men. Men, you need to step up. We want to promote tradition and stuff. You have to be traditional. That means you have to earn enough money to support your wife and children. You have to get an education. You have to position yourself that you can take charge and be a leader of your household. You have to stop hoeing around and you have to choose a wife and settle down and build something, create a legacy for a family. She needs to direct all of this towards men, okay? Not women. No woman on this planet can get married without a willing husband. Then there's this one, college women. Take heed, prioritize marriage and family. Okay. She says she's got these women who are up to their eyeballs in debt, gotten degree upon degree due to pressure they felt from their parents and the culture to do something big with their lives, and to not let their intellect go to waste, and to not worry about finding a man to marry, even having children, because they have bigger fish to fry. And that these three girls were crestfallen because they evidently probably studied museum science or something that wasn't about shit, and so they wasn't making no money. I can't help you. You know, you get a degree, you get an MBA or something, you could be working right away. You might not be making grand theft money all right out the gate till you get some experience to go with it. But you know, you may get a degree in some crazy shit like, French history or something. Well, yeah, you're going to be in debt, and your chance of getting a job paying you any kind of decent wage with that are, slim to none. You can get a job, but it's going to take you a long time, and you're not going to make that much money, and you're going to be in school for a long time, and it's just a waste of time. So what you want to do, if you want to do something that's fulfilling like that, you like that kind of stuff, you do that later in life. In the beginning of life, you go out and you get you a degree or a cert in something that's going to make you some money. Okay, then you can go to college and learn and earn, in your museum science, whatever it is, French American history, whatever. You can do all of that later after you have some money in the bank. Okay? Just have to be strategic about this. Nobody's saying you can't get what you want. You just have to be strategic about it. I would never tell my daughter to do no mess like that. And she's talking about men and the failure. I don't know. It's just, you can tell I'm getting tired of looking at this because to me it's silly. So anyway, back to her. So in my conclusion, I have to say, that women are still being socialized to be wives and mothers. It's beat into us. I mean, from the day they give you a baby doll when you're a little girl with the fake milk and the little fake bottle and all that stuff, the fake diapers. They talk about how pretty you are and all this stuff. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you are going to most likely, in a high percentage, be a mother at some point in your life. You will become a little teenage girl and you want to experiment with makeup and hairstyles and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that stuff is part of life. But do you have to start jamming it down a little girl's throat at 3? I mean, really? Why do you have to do it so early? Why do you have to start her on this thing where you got to program her? Why can't little boys play with dolls? They're going to be fathers at some point. They're going to have children. They need to know how to play with them and handle them. Why is that something that you parents don't want your sons to do? They're going to be a dad. They need to know how to change a diaper. They need to know how to hug their babies. They need to know how to express love and affection. They need to know how to express tenderness. Little boys learn that by playing with dolls. My brothers know because they played with me, But if he wants a little boy doll, they have little dolls for little boys and stuff. I mean, what's the problem there? So many men are, I don't want my son playing with a doll. It was a stupid comment. There we go. Um, yeah, she basically, she's not looking at the fact that if you have men who aren't being socialized to be fathers and husbands, yet they're getting married at some point in their life, their idea of what they need to contribute and bring to that household is skewed. And so you have a woman who's very socially adept two that's very focused on it, and you have a guy who is an afterthought and he nobody ever told him. Okay, you get them two people together, and he has certain weird expectations, especially if his mother was the kind that was really like overbearing type, and who never put any responsibility on him. He never cleaned his room. He never had any household chores and all that stuff. Suddenly now he's married. He's gonna expect his wife to continue to treat him like his mother did. No, that's not going to happen. So they run into a problem because the wife is like, no, I don't want to do all this. I'm not your mama. And he's like, well, my mother always did it. And she's like, well, your mama ain't here. So then they start fighting. And it ends up this really big thing. And so she says that that it's women's, the feminism is what's making the marriages break up, but it's not. It's the lack of males' preparedness for the realities of marriage in the 21st century. Okay, this ain't the 1800s no more. You're going to have to kick down. You're going to have to wash some dishes. You're going to have to give kids some baths. You're going to have to help them with their homework. You're going to have to vacuum and do some laundry. You live there too, and that's your family. So you and your wife are partners. Okay, she shouldn't have to ask you or tell you to take out the trash and stuff. Your eyeballs work. You see the shit's overflowing and full and smelly. You take it out. She's not your mother. Johnny, you take out the trash. That's what they want. And so then they complain that she's nagging. Well, you're a grown man. Why can't you just do it without somebody having to ask you? Stuff like that. So, but in reality, anyway, what women's angst about marriage is not because of feminism. It's because that men are still living in the Stone Age when it comes to realities of life and running a household. They want a time. They want to return to, a time where women were like chattel instead of learning and growing and advancing themselves mentally, socially, and emotionally. They want to stay as they are and they don't want to change. You know what happens when the world changes around you? You become extinct, dudes. And that's what's happening to a lot of them. No woman is choosing them. They don't want them. They're not bringing anything positive to a woman's life. If you ask them why would a woman want to be with you, they don't have an answer. They just look at you. I know because I've done this hundreds of times. You complain that you don't have a girlfriend. Why do you think that is? Why would someone choose you? Well, I have a job. Well, she got one too. Does that make her a great man? Well, I'm a good man because, this and that. Well, she got that too. Her own place and her job, and she pay her taxes and take care of her kids. I mean, what are you doing that you're going to bring into a relationship with this woman that would make her choose you over someone else? And they just don't have an answer. And that's going to be the secret to this situation that she's talking about. She needs to direct all of this conversation to men, all of it, all of it. So then she says, in her article, Never Marry a Feminist, she says, anyone who enters into marriage believing that it is oppressive to women will never be successfully married. Your mindset towards anything, but especially towards marriage, will make or break your success with it. Well, yeah, but I mean, the way that she describes marriage, it is oppressive to women. Let's just be real here. If you're in a situation where you having your dreams, chasing your dreams and wanting to be something other than just a diaper changer and a breeder and a cook is viewed as a threat and to marriage and something undesirable. I mean, why would you put that aside to get married? Basically, when you get married, your life, the way that she's doing it, presenting it, a woman's life would be over. Her life would become lived for some other people other than herself, pleasing other people other than herself, sacrificing for other people other than herself. It's already bad enough when you do want a kid and you are mentally and financially and emotionally mature enough and prepared to handle it. The infants can't do anything for themselves. You have to do it all. That's a lot of responsibility. So you better be ready for it. And she says, if you believe that gender sex roles are a result of patriarchy designed to disempower women rather than on what they're actually based on, the biological differences between the sexes, your relationship is doomed. A successful marriage relationship demands a deep understanding of female and male nature. A strong marriage is in fact predicated on sexual inequality or on how much couples let their differences shine. Unfortunately, many couples don't recognize this until years later when children come along. Because when we remove reproduction from the table, men and women do live very similar lives and thus appear equal or the same. But once they become parents, sex differences become glaring, end quote. Yeah, because men just expect women to do it all. And a lot of women expect to do it all. I'm not doing it all. I told my husband, my daughter is 30 years old now in April. So it's like I, so this attitude that I had a long time ago. That baby was crying. I was nursing her stuff. But he's laying in the bed thinking I'm gonna get up and do everything. I said, no, you get up and change her diaper and bring her in here. Oh, but I'm tired. And I'm not. And I guess the way I said it, I gave him that look because he traveled a lot for work. So when he wasn't there, I did have to do it all. But the convenience is you here this week and next week, and you gonna get up, and that's just the way it is. And so he was like, "Oh," I said, "I've carried her little bitch ass for 9 months. You take a turn. You do something." I mean, and once he got into it, I mean, he was just, I mean, them two was thick as thieves. But just getting him on board because it was so different than the way he was socialized to be. But I wasn't going to let him get away with that. And I'm like, no, you going to get in there and you going to do your fair share. I had all total responsibility for 9 months. You going to do something now. I'm going to rest. And that's just the way it was. And he was like, oh, okay. But then after that, he never would put her down. When he was home, he'd walk around and she would just, he's carrying her like this, right? He's carrying her and she point her little hand in the direction she want to go. Oh, you want to go over there? And he walk over that way and then she point over there. He walked that way. So he was like, her chauffeur in the flesh. It was hilarious. But, sometimes as a woman, you have to stand up for yourself and put your boundaries in place. So I would go to the gym or I would sew something or crochet or just watch a movie by myself, read a book by myself outside on the patio. I'm doing something like that while the two of them did whatever they was going to do as father and daughter. Don't bother me. You get over there and you all do your bonding thing and leave me alone. Oh yeah, Tony, I'm telling you, Millie, that's exactly what it was. And so he, but after that, he loved it. He loved it. And so that, I think, there's a benefit there for the child and for the man if he really understands the benefit of his presence and actions in his child's life. They form a wonderful, wonderful bond. It's like daddy is just everything. But you got to be a man who's willing to put that time in with your kids. And you ladies, you have to be, willing to step on his toes and make him do it. So her saying that a strong marriage is predicated on sexual inequality is some bullshit. The only thing that's the difference is that the woman is the only one who can carry the baby. But once the baby comes out into the outside world, I guess she's the only one who can nurse the baby. But, by the time she was able to start drinking water and juice and stuff, I would let him give her that bottle and I would just do the nursing. So we switch off. So she was used to getting fed by both parents. Both parents changed her diaper. Both parents played with her. Both parents took her to the park. It was both of us was active in her life. So basically, to me, there's no war on men. There's no war on men at all. This is some sensationalism and something that got her a lot of attention, but it was silly. What women are waging a war on is being treated as less. Like I said earlier, it's just like during the civil rights battle of the 1960s, where African Americans in the United States had to basically wage a war on racism and Jim Crow to get to be allowed to live just like human beings. That's all women want. You got men in government, they want to try to regulate women's wombs, tell us what we can't do as far as birth control and abortions and stuff like that. It's not your body. You don't get to say nothing about what we do. Shut up. Go sit down somewhere and stop it. With especially all these old ass white men always trying to regulate on somebody. You have like 2 drops of sperm in your whole body and trying to worry about somebody getting pregnant. That ain't your problem, son. Okay, it ain't been your issue in 20 years. Go sit down somewhere and trying to keep women from, doing what they want to do. Thanks, Z. It's just, women are just fighting for the same things that men have, and to be treated equally and to not be oppressed in their marriages, at their workplaces, in their relationships. I don't understand why this is such a problem and why so many men have an issue with it. And well, women aren't raised to be wives anymore, and they're not this and that. You want people to be oppressed up under your thumb, and they still try to at every opportunity try to control women. And with these games and narcissism and lies and manipulations and tricks, it doesn't work anymore. Stop it. Do the work to advance yourself and come on so we can do this. Women are trying to do it by themselves and dragging men along unwillingly. That shit is exhausting. You got to take care of your kids and drag his butt along too. It's too much work. That's why no women don't want to get married. So all these jokes that they're talking about, they make about, well, that's why you're single. Yeah, that is why I'm single. Because nobody trying to be with you. You're just gonna die old with some cats. Well, you're gonna die old in a nursing home, and you won't even have a cat because it's against the regulation to bring them in there. You just gonna be in a shitty diaper by yourself in a wheelchair in the corner because ain't nobody gonna be changing your diaper every 10 minutes when you piss on yourself. See, stuff like that. They don't understand. It's like if you haven't put the work in when you're a younger man to have a family and to maintain relationships with those children, then when you get older, when you die, you're gonna die by yourself. If you're a man who's loved by many, your bed will be surrounded by people who care about you and will be sad to see you go. They'll have a lot of memories of you. You would have made an impact on their lives, in your community, in your families. But when you don't put forth the effort to do that, all you do is ho hop and pussy chase, then keep in mind, when you get older, you're not gonna have nothing to show for that. You're not gonna have no money, you're not gonna have no legacy, you're not gonna have nothing. Better be thinking about it. And ladies, don't listen to stuff like this. Okay, where she's trying to like embarrass and humiliate you into giving up your dreams for yourself, your dreams that your parents had for you, the reason why they sacrificed everything that they had to make sure that you had opportunities that they didn't have, to go to school because they could see that their daughter was smart. They want you to go to college. They want you to make your dreams come true. They're doing everything they can to help you make that happen. Don't disappoint them. Don't you go off to college and get yourself pregnant by some knucklehead and fuck up your family's dreams like that. You would have been the first one to graduate from college, and your whole family, everybody in your families are surrounding you and would put through money and everything to make sure that you had what you needed when you went off to school. And the first thing you do is go and fuck it up, getting yourself involved with some knucklehead ass boy. Don't you do that. And those of you who, you're going to send your daughters off, make sure you send them off with some birth control. Make sure they understand, even if it's something they might not want to take it. I don't have any intention of doing anything like that, Mom. Yeah, well, shit happens. Stuff called roofies happens. And then next thing you'll know, your daughter's pregnant. And if your daughter does get pregnant, you please help her get in a termination. Don't ruin her life by making her have some fool's baby. You're talking about, well, we don't believe in abortion in this family. Fuck that shit. You don't make your daughter suffer like that. You get her, free her from that. Free her from that. Okay? It's a whole bunch of, whole ways this could go. And, under her belief, that's feminism. And that she feels like it's like the enemy of marriage. It's the enemy of men. And that being a feminist means you're waging war on men. It does not. It means you are pro-woman. Pro-woman does not mean that you are anti-man. They feel like it is, though, because they feel like they have to give up something that they don't want to give up. So they feel, challenged, that they feel like you're being warlike on them. You know what? If you would just say, that's true, I've had this for too long by myself, I should share. I should share with people of color, and I should share with women. If they did that willingly, then we could all be friends, and we could go on from here, and it wouldn't be no problem. But the fact that we have to fight you for it. We have to go to court for it. We have to march for it. We have to do all the stuff to get what we deserve to have just because we're human beings just like you. You can see that as a war if you want to, but guess what? It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop at all. So that's what I had to say about this stuff. You can read this woman's writings. I don't know, just do a search for her last name. It's spelled Venker. She has a whole blog and all this stuff, with article after article, this nonsense. And, like I said, I think it's a source, or she's at least one of the sources for this movement where they're, telling women that they don't know how to be mates anymore and this and that. And I'm still waiting to see, like I said, where they're so stellar at being husbands and boyfriends. They can't even be a good boyfriend. They can't even be a good citizen on the internet. Okay, let's just start there. They want to come in and start calling people all kind of awful names and stuff and telling you what you should do. So when you have a situation like that, you look at these dudes and you can see that they're not worthy. You have put so much time and energy into developing yourself, making yourself a better person, a better woman, a better daughter, a better mother. What are they doing to be on a par with you? think about that. Y'all got to be starting being a lot more discerning about who you allow into your life and who you spend time with. I've gotten some really great letters this week from young ladies saying that how much their life has changed since they started following this channel, and give you specific examples of how they was able to peep out the game and the BS and start blocking folks and stuff. I was like, that's what I'm talking about. So, those are some great letters to get. If you want to share your story, feel free to send it in to survivingdating@gmail.com. I will happily read it and respond to you. And yeah, it was really good to see, the young women talking about how their lives had changed and turned around, how they're standing up for themselves, how they have boundaries now that they never had before. They never knew that they could say no and it would be okay, that they didn't have to please everybody. These are the kind of comments that are coming in. And I'm like, man, this is just great. This is why I do what I do. And I do it because I just think that, most of the women I meet have so much promise and so much to offer, not only in relationships, but to the world in general. Your peace, your mind, your goals, your dreams, the stuff that you're willing to give to other people, the ways you're willing to help other people. And it's just, by us coming together, we on this channel, we help each other. Because I help you, but you help me right back. And you guys also help each other. The new people that come in, you answer their questions. It's a really wonderful group of women that have been attracted to this channel. I cannot say enough good things about you. We do have occasional knuckleheads that roll through, but I know they don't tend to stay because they see it's not their cup of tea. But everybody is very positive, very forward thinking, open minded. Those are the kind of things that are gonna take you far in life and help you to help your kids become way better than any of us could ever have hoped to be. That's why we do this. Okay, we want the next generation to be way better than us. There ain't nothing wrong with us, but I'm just saying, why stop here? The sky's the limit. Let's hit it. All right. So you guys, you will see me again on Tuesday. We will be back with, what the fuck relationship advice Tuesday. If you want to send in a question, look in the show description below. I think you have another, I don't know, day or so before Candace closes it down and emails it in to me Tuesday morning. And so if you have a question you want to try to squeeze in there, then, send it on in. It may not make it this week, but maybe next week. But yeah, this Sunday sermon is we're being sarcastic, okay, in case people haven't maybe figured that out. But I think the word, I'm still delivering the word. It's just in a different form that you might be used to. And, people, there is like a collection plate of sorts, I suppose, but it's completely voluntary. We don't ask for it. People just give willingly because they believe in, what we're trying to do here. And they know it's expensive to buy all these, these lights and all this software and stuff that I use to produce these shows. So I always appreciate it, and I want you guys to know it. And Lady Boss, thank you once again for your help. She's reading some books for February too to help me out. And you guys are all the best. I really, really appreciate you. I just want you to know it. I'll see you on Tuesday, okay? Bye bye.